This is Filomena Barreiro. Yes. Will make an overview of teachers' training in Portugal. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, my name is Filomena Barreiro. My home institution is the Polytechnic Institute of Bragança. I'm here in the context of the chemistries all around the network project, and I'm going to present an overview of teacher training in Portugal. So let's give an overview of the structure, focusing the three categories that are addressed by Portuguese engineers: initial training, specialized training, and in-service training. In what concerns in-service training, I will focus mainly 2 points: teaching of experimental sciences for primary school and the training in ICT, because they were topics that were supported, financed by with projects by the government. So, starting with the organization, how to become a teacher. In Portugal, following Bologna process, initial teacher education is organized in 2 cycles. The first cycle for class teachers is aerobic education in basic education. For subject teachers, it's a knowledge-oriented first cycle. Then, all these teachers have to proceed with the second cycle, that in case of class teachers, it lasts 1-2 years. It means 60 to 120 BCTS. And we can see here in this table what is the typical duration depending on the levels that these teachers are supposed to teach. For example, kindergarten or basic education only need one year second cycle. Kindergarten and basic education 1.5 years, and basic education for first and second cycles need 2 years. For the case of subject teachers, the typical duration is 1.5 to 2 years, and is a professional acquisition. It's for professional acquisition competency. So, in particular, for the case of chemistry, if I want to become a chemistry teacher in Portugal, that is considered a subject teacher, I need to perform a first cycle that could have different typologies. I can make the first cycle of chemistry, physical chemistry, sciences, and biochemistry, both at the university and polytechnic levels. And then I have to perform a second cycle, mainly focused, as I previously said, to acquire the professional qualifications. So this second cycle is a general cycle both for chemistry and physical teachers, and is entitled Education in Physical Sciences, and is given only by universities. So this second cycle intends to qualify teachers, as I said, both in physics and chemistry science, to teach both the third cycle and secondary education levels. To assess this second cycle, the applicants need to have previously have 120 BCTS in the 2 subject areas, physics and chemistry, and no less than 50 BCTS in each of these subjects, physics and chemistry. And the second cycle provides essentially training in physics and chemistry didactics, and as well as educational psychology. So summarizing, class teacher in Portugal, they fall, initial teacher education follows a concurrent model. Both pedagogical and professional subjects are taught simultaneously, and for subject teachers it is a constitutive model. First, the subject-oriented subject, and then the acquisition of professional qualifications. As I also said, it is provided by public universities and polytechnics, as well also as some higher education institutions, non-public higher education institutions. Here we have a survey of an example for the case of education, sciences and teachers trainings, focusing mathematics, physics, chemistry and biology. This is the number of institutions that can offer this first cycle for class teachers. So, summarizing, nowadays, initial teachers education in Portugal is considered a career-long professional development, by information provided by higher education institutions, and continued in-service teacher education, verticalization, etc. It is considered a research-based level of qualification, where a master's degree is required that corresponds to level 7 of the European Qualifications Framework. A qualification acquired in a teaching context that comprises supervised practice and internship. We don't have the induction and probation period. A qualification supported by a curriculum driven to learning outcomes. And now, proceeding with specialized training, that is also considered in the legislation of Portuguese legislation. Specialized training is dedicated to the teachers that want to perform complementary education functions. For example, for special education, administration and inspection activities in schools, socio-cultural animation, basic education for adults, among other examples. This usually corresponds to 1 year that is performed in a higher education institution also. I have to be a teacher, I have to have a master's degree, and then I make this post-graduation to complement and to be able to perform these activities in my school. So now, proceeding with in-service training, or continuous training allows teachers to complement, deepen and update their knowledge and professional competencies. In Portugal, the continuous teachers training accreditations in what concerns the institutions, in what concerns the teachers that are involved, in what concerns the training actions and the evaluation process is centralized in an organism that is Conselho Científico Pedagógico da Formação Contínua. It means Scientific and Pedagogical Council for Continuous Formation. This is a national organism, but then connected to this national organism, we have training centers that are associated to schools at the regional level. For example, in Bragança, the city where I live, we have one training center. Training actions can be selected by schools according to the identified needs and their teachers, or simply result from an individual initiative of the teacher. What does it mean? It means that if I have a training center in my region, usually at the level of the teacher department, they can say what they need. I need the information in these and these and these areas, and then the responsible institution will communicate to the training center. My teachers need this kind of information, and the training center tries to arrange and to organize the training that these teachers ask for. It has a direct impact on teacher careers, being one of the factors that is considered to assess mobility and progression, career progression. So here is just an example of a page of the training center of Bragança. Here we can see some of the offers when they made the inscription by electronically. So, continuing within the service training center, but focusing the two topics that I said at the beginning of the talk. In service training in experimental sciences for primary school teachers, it corresponds to an ambitious program developed at the national level. It was developed during 2006 and 2010, and involves more than 5,000 primary schools, more than 40,000 teachers, and around 150,000 students. So it was a program financed by the government. It means that the teachers can access this information without payment. So in this case, one of the most important outputs was not only the training offered to the teachers, but also they have developed a lot of documentation, didactic guides for teachers and the notebooks for students. And these results were implemented on the manuals that are in use nowadays at schools. Another program that has a big support from the government was teacher training in ICT. We have since 1985 several programs that were supporting this ICT in schools. So we have, for example, to say, the first one was the Minerva project, then the NONIO 21st century, and nowadays, since 2007, we have what we call the technological plan for education. According to this technological plan for education, its main objectives are to provide technological infrastructures to school, to make available online contents and service, and promote ICT skills for schools community. And according to this last topic, the training centers in Portugal have organized formation for teachers in ICT. And just to finalize, as a result of this strong investment of the Portuguese government and these measures, in a recent work of 2011 that involves several European countries, and it was based on a sample, a very significant sample of 190,000 questionnaires that were filled online. This conclusion was, I have to highlight this conclusion, that says that digitally confident and supportive teachers in the European community reach an average of 20-25%, and in Portugal we are up to this average, and you have values of 30 to 50% in the grades 4 and 8, and more than 45 for the 11th grade students. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.